Lyrics of the Lost.
Hello and welcome to episode 7. I've been reading that episode 7 is the point in the average podcast series where creators say, I've had enough, not sure why we're doing this, and they just stop. But that's the average podcast, and we can assure our listeners that this is no average podcast, although we're steadily building up to that. Have you heard about that, Dave? 7.
Yes, the legendary 7 podcast itch. That's where podcasters and their podcast partners often split up and go and work with other podcasters.
Oh, wow.
But I just want you to know I'm 100% committed to this podcast.
Yes, you did have, there was that slight unpleasantness when you put a call out in a previous podcast to signal your availability to other podcasters. That was obviously a huge blow against your loyalty. I had to mark you down for that. It's fine. Forgive and forget. That's what I say.
Well, it was very easy to retain my loyalty since I got absolutely no response to that call out. And given our broad international listenership, that was very disappointing.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's any new listener countries. I think there might have been. I might have seen in the. We've done Guatemala. We've had someone from there before. Germany has stayed quite high. I think they're number 3.
Maybe we need to pander to our German listeners and do.
Yes.
I don't know. 99 Luftballon.
Oh yes. My goodness, yes.
In German.
Oh, there's some craft work, or I don't know who the other German greats are, really.
That's pretty much it.
That's about it? Yep. Okay, well, we've just lost some German listeners right then by saying how limited they are. Well, at least we didn't bring up Hasselhoff. I believe they hate that. But we all assume that they're really into David Hasselhoff. I've been meaning to give a shout out to Josh, who wrote in some time ago to say that he'd like to hear our analysis of the song Every Breath You Take by the Police, which he describes as a nice song, but the lyrics are definitely very creepy and resemble the thought patterns of a stalker. Thanks, Josh. Any thoughts on that, Dave?
Sorry, I'm just reeling from the fact that somebody wrote in.
It doesn't happen too often, but, you know, it does happen occasionally. And I might also give a shout out to a guy called Stephen, who wrote also. He's actually a pastor, I believe, who enjoys our podcast, and he's working on a submission for us, which I can't wait to see.
Well, hello, Stephen.
Hello, Stephen. But yeah, with Josh's suggestion, I think some songs of that era in the 80s were deliberately creepy. I remember Peter Gabriel's Intruder song, basically telling the story of Lee Harvey Oswald, I think, his assassination of Kennedy.
Well, there's one key difference between those two songs, which is that the Peter Gabriel song is actually about a criminal, whereas the Police song is actually about themselves, and it's kind of disguised as a love song. Possibly.
Actually, I've just confused Peter Gabriel's song, The Intruder. That's not the one about the assassination. That's another song.
Oh, I know the one you mean, but I can't think of it either.
Yeah, Intruder's just about someone creeping around somebody's house and you know, looking in their drawers and stuff, but no assassinations.
Family Snapshot.
Yes, that's probably it. Yes. Anyway, yes.
Bit beyond the scope of this podcast, I think.
Yeah, well, Peter Gabriel doesn't get much of a look in on Smooth FM. Except for that song he does with Kate Bush, Don't Give Up. That seems to be on high rotation. But just back to Josh. Yeah, I think if we get to do the Police, it'll be hard for creepiness, for maximum creepiness. It'll be hard to go past the lyrics of Don't Stand So Close to Me, which is about a teacher having an affair with a schoolgirl. And told largely from the point of view of the teacher, it's an unusually sympathetic portrayal of a pedophile. And that seems pretty creepy, but when you learn that Sting was also a school teacher himself for a couple of years, well,
Yes.
the needle on the creepy meter flies past the red danger range and snaps off the dial completely before embedding itself in the wall of a house in the next suburb.
To be fair to Sting, he was trying very hard not to be a pedophile in that song, given that he was telling the girl to stand a little bit further away and not, rub up against me.
Well, not in public anyway.
Well, true.
Yeah, don't stand so close to me in public, but get into my car, it's raining,
Yes.
and yeah, stuff happens, I believe, or it's implied. Anyway, yes, that's a whole kettle of fish for a future episode. And we have a very different kettle of fish for this episode. And as listeners know, we don't mess about. We get straight into it. So here, episode 7 is this.
You're so vain.
You're So Vain. Carly Simon, 1971. Lots of rumours and scandalous speculation about this song, mostly about who the much maligned subject of the song is. It's most often thought to be actor Warren Beatty, of course. Carly Simon wrote her own lyrics for this song and briefly dated Warren Beatty, but Carly has not, in the 50 years since, confirmed that rumour. And I'm pleased to say that, with our solid experience of analysing lyrics over many months now, I have unearthed irrefutable facts that will put an end to the wild speculation. Now, Dave,
Yes.
I know that you were part of a band, A Pleasant 23 Degrees, a band that chose to cover this very song. Do you recall what attracted you and the others to it?
Yes, well, first of all, I think you are doing yourself a disservice as we were in your band. And
Oh, yes, yes,
secondly,
of course.
we were attracted to it by the fact that it was in a book of songs that we had.
Oh, it's just down to that.
I'm afraid so.
You only had the one book.
We only had the one book in front of us at the time when we were choosing songs, and that was one.
Yes, I managed the band, amongst a number of others at the time. It was a heady period. I was very productive back in those days. So let's have a look at the lyrics, eh?
That's why we're here.
Very good.
You walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht.
You walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht. So this guy, if it is a guy, he's already swaying, unsteady, like he's walking onto a yacht. He's already completely pissed, and he's only just arrived. That's my take. He's preloaded with alcohol before the party, so he's probably got a bit of social anxiety that he's masking with alcohol. Yeah?
I think he's probably just holding on to the banister.
Do you think he's coming downstairs to the party?
No, he's walking along the gangplank, holding onto the handrail so he doesn't fall in the water.
But that's the analogy.
Yes.
But in reality, he's actually just entering a party.
He may be wearing a life jacket.
He could be wearing a life jacket. Those certainly don't, help you to walk normally. They're quite bulky.
Well, it is something you would do if you're
but-
walking onto a small yacht.
Dave, I think you're struggling with this analogy. There is no yacht. It's like there's a yacht because of the way he's walking, but there's no yacht.
And I'm imagining him dressed like Captain Haddock, dressed like a sea captain because he's walking onto a yacht.
Jesus.
Stop, Dave. Will you stop, Dave? Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
Unless the party is actually on a yacht. I hadn't thought of that.
Well, that would be very like he was walking onto a yacht if he was actually walking onto a yacht. Not very imaginative, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a simile, it's not a metaphor, it's just very unimaginative to say you were walking onto the party which was on a yacht like it was on a yacht.
Yep.
But in any case, I mean, despite the fact that he's someone who obviously appears pissed and is swaying and wobbling, and he's got a hat.
Your hat strategically dipped below one
got a crooked hat. Wobbly guy with a crooked hat, swaying and sweating like he's clambering onto a yacht, but he's really just traversing the flat and unimpeded entry hall to a party. And this guy, so classy, obviously, and it's worked on Carly Simon.
Your scarf, it was apricot.
Your scarf, it was apricot. So, I mean, you've got to add that to the ensemble, and drunk as he is, we know this guy is pretty talented. He can peel an apricot in one long piece and wear it as a scarf. That's pretty cool. So he's arrived probably in a limousine where he got drunk along the way in the back and then started messing around with the fruit platter, is probably what happened. And apricots, they're very moist, so it's no small achievement, and you'd need a very sharp potato peeler. So kudos. Does that gel with your image, Dave?
Nothing to add.
Yes. Yeah. Well, being 1971, I sort of imagine him, he might also be wearing a nice white skivvy or turtleneck. And he's got his hat down over one eye. He's got his apricot peel wrapped around his neck, and it's got a damp, faint sort of yellow-orange stain spreading beneath onto his white skivvy. And the apricot scarf probably smells nice and sweet and has attracted several bees, which are crawling around his neck. Their orange stripes accessorizing beautifully with the orange staining of the skivvy. Genius.
70s was a different time.
Yeah. And he's probably wearing the hat down over one eye because it's puffed up, almost shut from a bee sting, maybe. So he's definitely looking quite the character and turning some heads at the party.
You had one eye in the mirror as you watched yourself gavotte.
You had one eye in the mirror as you watched yourself gavotte. Well, that sounds like vanity, doesn't it? But we've established that he's drunk, so it's quite likely he thinks his reflection is just another guest at the party.
Yes.
A gavotte, for those wondering, is a 17th century French dance with flouncy-style movements performed to this music.
Nice.
Even as far back as the 1970s, it's unlikely this was considered party music. No, he was just making strange motions because he was trying to get past this other guest in the mirror who seemed to copy his every movement, and so, as you do, you make wilder movements to outwit them and see if their mimicry can keep up.
Do you think he got into a fight with the identically dressed person in the mirror who wouldn't get out of his way?
Well, yeah, these things do escalate, don't they? There would have been some words as he got closer and closer, and then push comes to shove, and the person in the mirror pushes at exactly the same time he does. There's a bit more stumbling, possibly a fall. I mean, that's the only thing I can imagine happening, because the only other possibility is that Carly Simon desperately reached back to the 17th century France for the word gavotte because she couldn't think of anything else to rhyme with yacht and apricot.
Surely not.
And, I don't want to think that. No, it's almost too pathetic for words.
Now that I'm looking at the lyrics even more closely, I'm wondering how he could see where he's going at all. Because he's got his hat below one eye, the other eye's looking in the mirror.
Yes, very poor depth perception.
And he's also performing a rather elaborate French dance.
Yes.
It's a very dangerous situation.
It is.
And you add a mirror to that mix, it's a health and safety nightmare.
Could be broken glass, and there could be some people at the party who are allergic to bee stings as well, so... Yeah, all sorts of danger here.
You're so vain. I bet you think this song is about you. Don't you?
So last episode, when we were discussing Piano Man, we were talking about lyrics that are not nearly as smart as the writer thinks they are. You might remember we tried a drink they called Loneliness that was apparently better than drinking alone.
Yes, you produced one. That was very impressive.
And we came to the conclusion that lyrics were superficially very clever, but utterly meaningless when you think about it at all.
Oh, yes.
I reckon the chorus is an absolutely prime example of that. We've got Carly Simon here thinking she's really clever with her twisty, turny words. You're so vain, you probably think the song is about you. Do you think that's clever?
Well,
Peter, do you?
I don't know if it's clever, but she's kind of, the song is about him. So
That's exactly my point. By directly addressing the vain person who may or may not be the subject of the song, she's directly confirmed that he is the subject of the song, because she's not only singing about him, whoever he or she may or may not be, she is now singing to him. Not only is he vain, he's also correct.
she's accusing him. How dare you think that this song is about you when I've written it about you and I'm now addressing you in the song?
Exactly.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? I didn't realize that. Yes. Huh.
And I have some additional information to add to what you said earlier, which is that Carly Simon at one point confirmed that the song was at least partly about Warren Beatty.
Partly.
I think one of the verses might be about him. Yeah. But he has also commented that he thinks the entire song is about him.
Yes.
So, in fact...
He is a bit vain if he
is a bit vain.
If he thinks the whole thing's about him.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. So the song really shouldn't be "You're so vain, you probably think the song is about you," as so much as "You're so vain, even though the song really is in part about you, I bet you think the whole thing is about you, don't you?"
Yeah, that's a hard one to get out. That's a very long line in a chorus. It would throw the meter off completely.
Yes, but I believe accuracy is more important.
Yes. You're so vain, this song's only a bit about you. You're so vain, you think the whole thing's about you, but it's just a bit. So there.
Exactly. So thinking about it some more, I wondered, does it mean that whoever is vain enough to think that this song is about them automatically becomes the subject of the song? Is it a self-fulfilling chorus?
Is it somehow like Schrodinger's cat, where the song is simultaneously about everyone who's ever listened to it, because until she confirms otherwise, the possibility that it is about you or me or anyone who's listened to it is like a superpositioning quantum level particle that could be true or not until it's revealed.
Exactly. And like Schrodinger's cat, if she does confirm who it's about, a cat will die.
Yes, because the device triggers the poison to be released in the box, killing the cat as soon as it finds out that...
Exactly.
Yeah, Carly Simon's specifically referencing someone. Yes. Poor cat. But at this stage, the cat is also simultaneously still alive in a parallel multiverse.
Exactly. So it is and is not about Warren Beatty, except that it is. And now there's a dead cat.
Well, that's another level to things. If it's only partially about Warren Beatty...
Oh, so it's just a horribly wounded cat. That's worse.
Possibly. Or maybe that's thrown quantum science into a new level. Maybe it's pentium science now, because you can have partial sub possibilities that are partially true, partially positioned and happening. Pentium. Actually, I think they've already done pentium computing.
Pentium? What?
Instead of quantum, what's a level above quantum? Quantum sounds like quad and 4, so pentium must be the next level, surely.
I've often thought 1990s Windows computers were the next level above quantum physics.
Yeah, well, we underestimated them. Go back to the Pentium computers and the earlier version of Windows that had the pinball game in it, Space Cadet Pinball, which you don't get anymore. So I'm very sad about that.
There's a lot more to this song than I initially appreciated.
Yeah, and the 90s were way ahead of her time, but at that quantum level, I guess she knew that there was a possibility of Pentium computing and Space Cadet Pinball, and she wrote her song accordingly. Which was very impressive.
Very impressive. I was thinking of it slightly differently, though. I was thinking it's more like the Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man of songs. Whatever you do, don't think you are the subject of the song, because if you do, that makes you so vain that you are the subject of the song.
Ah, yes. I guess that's very true. No, it's worth pondering. Yes. If you think if you think the song's about you, you're guilty of the same vanity. It's a lesson for us all, really. It's a moral exercise. And she gets quite tetchy in that chorus, doesn't she? It escalates to, I bet you think the song is about you, don't you, don't you, don't you? Like, like she's someone confronting him in a mirror while he's just trying to get by.
She's sort of lyrically jabbing him in the chest.
Yeah, she's another angry drunk at the party. She was probably swaying as she walked in as well.
When I hear you went up to Saratoga and your horse naturally won.
I hear you went up to Saratoga and your horse naturally won. Now, is that your horse naturally won because everything goes right for you? Or it sounds when she sings it like there's a definite comma pause she leaves there. Your horse naturally won. The horse is called naturally.
I hadn't thought of that. That's an interesting point.
Yes, well, I've checked, and there is a horse called naturally on the racing circuit. Born in Australia in 2015, this bay-coloured gelding has won just over $4,000 in total prize money so far, but unfortunately has yet to place first to win any race. So it is unlikely Carly Simon was referring to this horse winning anything. That and the song was written 45 years before it was born.
I think that's the clincher.
Yeah. However, I did find a more successful racehorse, also called Naturally, born earlier in Japan, and it has won 15 races. So, Carly's You're So Vain is written predominantly, maybe there's a little bit about Warren Beatty, I don't know, but it's predominantly about Japanese businessman and horse owner Naoki Hori. So, great to be able to settle that once and for all.
I think you should expect an angry letter from Carly Simon as she's refused to confirm that in the past.
Yeah, well, she likes to put these little puzzles into her lyrics. And another example of these cunning, fiendish puzzles that Carly Simon puts into her lyrics. The next line,
You flew your Learjet up to Nova Scotia to see the total eclipse of the sun.
you flew your Learjet up to Nova Scotia to see the total eclipse of the sun. Now, this is where Carly Simon is dropping another insult to her ex in the form of a fiendish puzzle. What does Carly Simon think of a guy who flies abroad just to witness an eclipse? Well, the clues are right there in the place name, Nova Scotia. Are you seeing it, Dave? Yeah?
I'm not seeing it, Peter. You're going to have to enlighten me.
Well, all right then. So the name Nova Scotia. Nova is an astronomical term for a swollen star or sun. Yeah?
Yes.
Nova Scotia is also Latin for New Scotland. And the name Scotland is said by at least one scholar to derive from Skewitt, a name which exists in Old Irish, Gaelic, and translates as buffoon. So, putting it all together, Carly Simon is calling her ex a new swollen sun buffoon. He's new money, a fad, not to be taken seriously. And we take swollen to mean egotistical, or he's excessively gassy like a sun, bag of hot air, etc. And sun buffoon, he'll chase bright lights like a stupid moth. It's a rich tapestry of an insult, devised in Carly Simon's signature, Nostradamus-like quatrain-style lyrics. Brilliant.
I'm astonished.
But, you can see, now that I've joined the dots for you, you can pretty clearly see that, can't you?
Oh, it's as clear as day. I don't know why I didn't see it before. And looking at it again, the next line, to see the total eclipse of the sun. What is the one thing you should never do to a total eclipse?
Look at it with your...
You should never look directly at it. So this guy is such a buffoon. He flew his Learjet to Nova Scotia to look directly at a total eclipse. What an idiot.
Such a swollen sun buffoon. Can't believe it.
Yes.
Carly Simon, if you've seen pictures of her, she has a huge mouth that is jam-packed with teeth. I don't know how important mouth size is to singing. Do you know, Dave? Is that helpful?
To have a mouth?
To have a particularly big mouth that's jam-packed with teeth.
The only thing I know about that is apparently part of the key to Freddie Mercury's singing voice was his unusual tooth structure.
Oh, yeah. He had teeth that sort of fanned out a bit at the front, like people who used to suck their thumb as children used to get that. I had a neighbour who had that.
Yeah, my sister had to have spikes put on a retainer to stop her sucking her thumb. I don't know whether that ever happened to Carly Simon.
Jesus Christ, spikes.
As I say, the 70s was a different time.
Yes, it was. I think, orthodontics, as I remember them, were quite spiky enough. Yes, Carly Simon's mouth, with all those teeth, huge mouth, huge teeth. It's very disturbing. It's a little disturbing. Like she could suddenly turn and snap at your fingers if you were too close. And that's why Steve Irwin used to say, you should always approach Carly Simon from where she can see you coming, slowly and calmly, so she's not going to get startled and bite you. You don't make direct eye contact immediately, just hold out a hand and let her sniff you.
I had some dreams, they were clouds in my coffee, clouds in my coffee.
Why are there clouds in her coffee? Does she add milk, but then not stir it in? Like an animal? Who does that?
Well, I believe if you use that powdered creamer, I think it's called, like coffee whitener, that looks like a cloud.
Non-dairy creamer. That's what the Americans use.
Yes.
For some reason.
Well, nice use of an American accent to make our American listeners feel more comfortable.
I had some dreams they were fish in my milkshake.
And, well, that makes just about as much sense as dreams being clouds in your coffee.
Well, in any case, it's very dangerous to be deep in twitchy REM sleep, dreaming with a scalding hot beverage nearby. Just visit the Burns ward at any children's hospital. But these were carefree times just after the 60s, when Americans could napalm the clothes and skin of small children in Vietnam. The good old days.
I think it's quite interesting. This song seems to be quite an accurate study of narcissistic personality disorder.
Oh. Are we talking about on her part or on Warren Beatty?
Well, let's not mention any names.
No.
But the person or persons seem to display quite a lot of the characteristics of somebody who has a narcissistic personality disorder. And I did some research on the internet, so this is obviously correct.
Oh. NPD.
Yeah. What?
I'm just doing the acronym NPD. Narcissistic personality.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I wanted to sound intelligent, so I just abbreviated it.
Sorry, and by doing so, you made me sound like an idiot. I'm sorry.
Please continue.
Where are we? Yes. People with narcissistic personality disorder have a tendency towards grandiosity and an inflated sense of self-performance. So let's look at the lyrics. Walking into the party like you're walking onto a yacht, check.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking a song is about you, check.
Mm-hmm.
A constant need for attention and admiration, a preoccupation with their own beauty, gavotting, obviously.
Yes.
Strategically dictate, check.
Mm-hmm.
Apricot scarf, check. One eye looking at yourself in the mirror, also check.
Mm.
Yes, exaggerating your talents and achievement. Well, the song says, I heard you went up to Saratoga and your horse naturally won. Now, we don't know if any of that's true. Perhaps he's lying about his achievements.
Mm.
Just like he claims to have a winning horse, he claims to have travelled in his private jet that he claims to own to watch the solar eclipse in Nova Scotia. No evidence that this is true.
True.
He claims to be hanging out with spies and his friends' wives. But is he really? Is any of it true?
Yes, maybe it also says Carly Simon's very naive, and that the person, the subject of the song, is a pathological liar, perhaps. There's also a possibility that the person is quite paranoid, instead of narcissistic, about the song being about them. They might be thinking, I'm scared, I'm thinking Carly Simon is stalking me. I'm sure she's talking about me in this song. I think I've seen some huge mouth full of teeth outside my window at night. I've seen the white of the teeth in the window and in the darkness. Yes. Your imagination could run away with you with that sort of image.
Well, as we've discussed earlier, his imagination doesn't have to run away with him because she directly confirms that she is actually stalking him. And he has right to be paranoid.
Yes, well, there
you go.
She's written a song about him. I mean, that's a bit stalkerish.
A little bit. That's the kind of thing that stalkers do. Write songs, write poetry, cut heads off rabbits, that kind of thing.
Yes, they're getting lost in their own heads too much. They really need to go out for a nice walk and talk to people.
Yeah, instead of having dreams that are just clouds in your coffee. Get outside, Carly.
Yeah. If you were, more mentally well, there would be a bright sky in your coffee, no clouds at all. Someone like her is just seeing the worst in things.
But you gave away the things you loved, and one of them was me.
You gave away the things you love, and one of them was me.
Well, another characteristic of somebody with narcissistic personality disorder is forging of superficial relationships.
Right.
And so the song actually says that he promised never to leave her and then he dumped her, despite claiming to love her. So, check again.
Also, giving away the things you love, isn't that supposed to be a good, healthy thing to do? If it doesn't come back, it wasn't meant to be. But if the love does come back...
Well, no, according to Marie Kondo, you're meant to give away the things that don't bring you joy.
That's true. And if you do decide to keep them, you roll them up in strange little balls and fit them into a drawer.
Exactly. So clearly Carly was not giving him joy.
Yes.
And he's left her by the side of the road.
Or maybe he just didn't have a set of drawers that were big enough to accommodate her, even rolling her up. She wasn't small enough to fit in one of his drawers. And again...
Well, not with those teeth.
She's got that huge mouth.
Yeah. But my conclusion from all of this is that maybe the subject of the song, or the subjects of the song, I should say, are not so much deserving of the scorn of a spurned singer-songwriter as maybe they require expert professional help for a serious condition that will affect their life and the lives of those around them. I believe Carly Simon needs a little more understanding.
Was she having an affair with these three people at the same time? Was it like a foursome type of thing? I think she's alluded to, along with Warren Beatty, being possibly up to two other people that this song is about.
Well, if everyone's consenting, I don't see a problem with that. But
yeah, I know. I mean, it was the 70s too, so yeah.
It's a question of honesty.
Yeah.
And a question of why she would want to date three narcissists at the same time. What does that say about her?
Yeah, the fact that she's painting so many ex-partners as narcissists, it seems like a convenient label for her to apply and avoid any introspection. Yeah, she might lack a bit of insight to what's going on in her own head, taken up as it is by all those teeth, which might be a further pressure.
I think you may be a little preoccupied with teeth, but
It could be.
That's-
Could be. The teeth do haunt me.
I bet you think the song is about you. Don't you?
now I decided to do some practical work on this. As you know, I'm a man of science.
Yes.
I've worked for many years in biomedical sciences and other medical fields.
Mm-hmm.
Like many scientists, I believe the best way to answer a complex scientific question or to diagnose a serious personality disorder is through the medium of a 2-minute online quiz.
Of course.
So,
You could at least find out which character of the Friends cast you are most like. You know, if nothing else.
that's true.
But yes.
I didn't take it that far.
Okay.
But in the name of medical research, I did subject myself to a 2-minute online test for narcissistic personality disorder.
Fascinating.
I came out with a score of 4, which ranks me as having a low risk of narcissistic personality disorder. Now, I was very pleased with that score, and I'm very happy to brag to you that I got a low score and that I'm not at all narcissistic.
Happy to brag. I think you've given yourself away there. Did you really get a score of 4? Or are you just...
Well, it did make me wonder, were my answers completely honest? Is it possible I exaggerated how non-narcissistic I am when answering those questions, thereby increasing my risk of actually having a pathological narcissistic condition?
Yes. It's like the danger of overstating your understatedness. People do that.
Exactly, yes. So by claiming not to be narcissistic, have I just outed myself as a total narcissist?
I think this
So I'm now...
I think this song's totally, it's all about you.
That's my conclusion. I'm very confused now.
I think it's all about you. Don't I? Don't I? Yes, I do.
I'm the Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes. I suppose you are. And the cat is dead.
The cat is dead.
The cat is dead. You're a narcissist and the Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man. And there's only one universe now because it's all been measured. There's no superpositioned particles. It's all one thing. And it's all resolved. Wow.
That's it. We've resolved the universe. Thanks, Carly.
There's still no excuse for putting the word gavotte in a modern song. I think that's well out of line. This is one of the biggest lyrical crimes that we've come across. Carly Simon then, 1971. You're so vain. Anything else to say about it?
Nope. I'm just wondering why she wrote a song about me when I was only 1 at the time.
Yes, that's very disturbing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, terrible designs she had on you at such a innocent age. If you were still, that young, you might start to have nightmares about a big mouthful of teeth under your bed.
I'm wondering whether the problem is with you here. You seem to have a bit of a fixation with teeth.
Well, I do. Some people are horrified by people's feet. I just think it's an amazing thing about some Americans. They have usually good teeth, good dentistry. When you compare them to, English people, British teeth are quite notorious as well. But and I guess that Australian teeth are quite similar to British teeth. I think mine are. But there's something when you look at healthy teeth in Americans. There's something almost over the top and scary, like Americans themselves. But yeah, there's something about teeth that are too big and too many, and mouths that look too healthy in that regard, and it goes into a very negative, scary place for me in my head. I might have to look into it. I might have to...
I think you might need to do a 2-minute online quiz.
Yes, that's what I need. Any sponsors you'd like to thank this week, Dave?
I'd like to thank the writers of 2-minute quizzes about serious psychiatric disorders.
And what sort of authoritative body did that come from?
Like mind.org or something like that. I can't actually remember.
Okay. I'd like to note for the recording that I have now also done this quiz, and I got a score of 10, which is a mild or moderate chance of having narcissistic personality disorder. I think that's probably a healthy level. I'm not sure how I can have that along with all the depression and self-loathing I also have, but there you go. We'll have a link to that narcissism quiz in the description of this podcast so you can play along at home. And thanks for joining us in episode 7. I'd like to thank Smooth FM radio stations around the world that continue to inspire this podcast while they continue to normalize a collection of old pop songs as being easy listening and inoffensive, even when they have the most outrageous lyrics and strange messages that are cryptically being delivered into your brain under the cover of gentle foot-tapping melodies. We have no idea what agenda and what effect they are having on our fragile minds. But then again,
We can't go on together with suspicious minds.
so let the smooth music file through your head until we're all smooth-brained.
You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain.
Lyrics of the Lost.